My hand froze on the lock. The garage door should have opened. It always opened. I'd been coming here every Saturday for 3 years, working on my vintage motorcycle project, organizing Dad's tool collection, keeping everything exactly how he wanted it. But today, my key didn't fit. The lock was different. Newer. Shinier. I tried again, thinking maybe I grabbed the wrong key. But no, this was definitely the right one, the key Dad had given me when he transferred the garage deed to my name last March. The key I'd kept on my keychain ever since, the one with the little red tag I'd added that said Sanctuary. My stomach twisted. I pulled out my phone and checked the date on the property transfer document I always kept in my photos, just to be safe. March 18th, 2023. Howard Bennett transfers garage property, contents, and full access rights to Jade Marie Bennett. Notarized. Legal. Binding. I tried the door handle anyway. Locked tight. My garage. My lock. But not my key anymore. Someone had changed the locks on property that legally belonged to me. And I had a horrible feeling I knew exactly who. My brother Derek's truck was parked in the driveway. Engine still warm. I ran up the porch steps, my heart pounding against my ribs. The front door was unlocked. I pushed through into the kitchen where Derek sat at the table, coffee mug in hand, scrolling through his phone like it was just another Saturday morning. "Why the hell did you change my locks?" I demanded. He looked up slowly, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Not a friendly smile. A knowing smile. The kind that said he'd been expecting this conversation and was going to enjoy it. "Relax, Jade," he said, taking a long sip of coffee. "Dad always said the garage was supposed to go to me anyway. I'm just correcting an oversight. If you're already feeling where this is going, take one moment to like and subscribe to this channel. And if you believe in justice being served, comment below where you're watching from. Because what happens next is going to change everything. An oversight." My voice came out sharper than I intended. Dad signed legal papers. The garage is in my name. The deed, the insurance, the property tax, it's all mine. Derek shrugged. Papers can be wrong. I slammed my hands on the kitchen counter. The coffee mugs rattled. Derek didn't even flinch. "The papers aren't wrong," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Dad transferred everything to me on March 18th last year. The garage, all the tools, the 3 motorcycles, every part, every manual. I have the deed, Derek. It's legal." He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Yeah. Then why didn't you change the lock sooner?" His eyes gleamed with something ugly. "I beat you to it. Possession is 9/10 of the law, little sister." My jaw clenched. "That's not how property law works and you know it. Maybe you should have been faster then." He stood up, grabbed his keys from the counter. "The garage is mine now. Dad will back me up when he gets home. He always does." He walked past me toward the back door, his shoulder deliberately bumping mine. "Oh, and Jade? Don't try anything stupid. I've got friends at the county clerk's office. Good luck proving anything." The door slammed behind him. I stood there, hands shaking, staring at the spot where he'd been sitting. This wasn't just a fight over a garage. This was theft. And Derek had just made the biggest mistake of his life. I needed Dad. Now. I ran down the hallway to his office, where I could hear the faint sound of papers rustling. He was sitting at his desk, glasses perched on his nose, completely absorbed in some insurance documents. "Dad!" I burst through the door. "Derek changed the locks on my garage. The one you gave me. The one that's legally mine." He looked up slowly. Too slowly. My frustration mounted. "Dad! Did you hear me? Derek locked me out of my own property." He set down his pen with deliberate care. "I heard you, Jade. Then why aren't you doing anything?" My voice cracked. "Why didn't you stop him?" Dad sighed, rubbing his temples. "I thought you could handle this yourself. You're 28 years old. You don't need me fighting your battles." I felt like I'd been slapped. "Handle it myself. Dad, he committed theft. He changed locks on property I legally own. This isn't about fighting battles, it's about enforcing basic property rights. Dad looked away, staring out the window at the garage. Sometimes people need to learn lessons the hard way, Jade. Maybe this will teach you both something about responsibility. My blood ran cold. Responsibility. I've been maintaining that garage for 3 years. I'm the one who organized it, who paid for repairs, who... I know, Dad interrupted quietly. But I can't get involved in every disagreement you two have. Work it out yourselves. I left Dad's office feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. My own father, the man who'd signed those legal papers, was refusing to help. Worse, he seemed to think this was somehow my fault. I paced the driveway, mind racing. Derek wouldn't have done this without planning. He was impulsive, sure, but changing locks required forethought. Keys. A locksmith. Money. Then I remembered. Dad's filing cabinet. The old metal one in the garage office where he kept all his project notes, receipts, insurance paperwork. If Derek had been planning this, there might be clues there. I waited until Dad left for his Saturday afternoon walk. Then I went back inside, grabbed the spare office key from the kitchen junk drawer, and let myself into his workspace. The filing cabinet wasn't locked. I rifled through folders labeled garage insurance, vehicle titles, tool receipts. And then I found it, tucked inside a folder marked family notes. A piece of paper, folded twice, in Derek's handwriting. Dated March 20th, just 2 days after Dad had transferred the garage to me. Garage key copied. Don't trust Jade. She'll sell the bikes or let the place fall apart. Taking control before she ruins everything. D. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Derek had been planning this for almost a year. Waiting. Watching. Getting ready to steal what was legally mine. I took photos of the note with my phone. Clear shots, good lighting, the date visible. Then I carefully put it back exactly where I'd found it. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From cold, calculated fury. Derek thought he was smart. He thought he'd outsmarted me by changing the locks, by getting Dad to stay neutral, by planning this for months. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd left evidence. And if there was one note, there were probably more. I spent the next hour going through every file in that cabinet. I found receipts for the new locks, $143.67, purchased at Morrison's Hardware on Friday. I found a printed email from Derek to a friend, finally getting what should have been mine. The old man screwed up giving it to her, but I'm fixing it. I photographed everything. I created a folder on my phone labeled Garage Evidence and organized each image by date and type. Receipts. Notes. Emails. Each one was another nail in Derek's coffin. But evidence alone wasn't enough. I needed a strategy. I needed to catch Derek doing something undeniable, something even Dad couldn't ignore. I needed to be smarter than my brother. And for the first time in my life, I realized something important. I already was. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a notepad, planning. Not with emotion, with logic. With the precision of someone who'd spent years assembling motorcycles from scratch, solving mechanical puzzles, troubleshooting problems. Step 1. Document everything Derek does with the garage. Every visit, every action, every lie. Step 2. Create a situation where Derek incriminates himself beyond any doubt. Step 3. Gather witnesses. People who could verify that the garage was legally mine, that Derek had no right to it. Step 4. Force Dad to acknowledge reality, to see what Derek was really doing. I pulled up the property deed on my laptop. Howard Bennett to Jade Marie Bennett, one garage structure, approximately 1,200 square feet, including all contents. 3 Harley-Davidson motorcycles, 1987, 1991, 2000, and 3 models. Professional-grade tool collection, parts inventory valued at approximately $48,000. Notarized March 18, 2023. Filed with County Clerk March 22, 2023. Everything documented. Everything legal. Everything mine. Derek had made this personal. Fine. I could be personal too. I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Derek, carefully worded. Hey, got someone interested in buying the 1991 Harley. Offering $6,800. Thought I'd let you know since you seem interested in garage business now. Let me know if you want details. I hit send. Then I waited. Derek called 17 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail, listening as his voice came through the speaker, eager and sharp. Jade, what's this about selling the 91? You can't just sell bikes out of the garage without discussing it. Call me back. We need to talk about this. I smiled. Perfect. He was claiming authority over property he didn't own, on a recorded line. I saved the voicemail, backed it up to 3 different cloud services. Then I called him back, putting my phone on speaker so I could record. Hey Derek, got your message. Yeah, what's this about selling the Harley? Those bikes are, he caught himself. Those bikes are valuable. You can't just sell them without thinking it through. I can sell whatever I want, I said calmly. It's my garage, my bikes. The deed is in my name, remember? That's not. Look, Jade, we both know Dad meant for me to handle the garage. You're just the paperwork holder. I'm the one who actually knows bikes, who can manage this stuff properly. I let him talk. Every word was gold. Every claim of authority, every suggestion that he had rights to my property. It was all being recorded, time-stamped, saved. So you're saying you have authority over my property? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. I'm saying someone needs to make sure you don't screw this up. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The next morning, I got an unexpected ally. Mr. Brennan, Dad's neighbor for 15 years, called my cell phone at 8:30 a.m. Jade, I need to talk to you about something, he said, his voice low and serious. Can you come by my place? I don't want to discuss this over the phone. I drove over immediately. Mr. Brennan met me at his door, glancing around like he was checking for surveillance. Derek's been bragging, he said once we were inside his living room. Yesterday at the hardware store, I overheard him telling someone he'd taken back the garage from you. Said it should have been his all along and he finally corrected the mistake. My jaw tightened. Did he say anything else? He said you didn't deserve it, that you'd probably sell everything or let it fall apart. He was loud about it, Jade. At least 5 people heard him. Mr. Brennan pulled out his phone. I took photos of the receipt he left on the counter, the one for the locks he bought. Figured you might need it. He showed me the image. Morrison's Hardware, $143.67, Derek Bennett, purchased Friday at 4:47 p.m. The same receipt I'd found in Dad's filing cabinet, but now with a witness who could verify Derek was bragging about the theft. Thank you, I said quietly. This helps more than you know. That boy's always been trouble, Mr. Brennan said. Your dad's too soft on him. But you've got something your brother doesn't. You've got patience and you've got proof. Use both. I spent the rest of Sunday gathering more evidence. I drove to the garage and took detailed photos of the exterior, the changed lock, the timestamp on my phone showing the date and time. I documented everything. Then I did something Derek wouldn't expect. I went to the county clerk's office Monday morning when it opened and requested a certified copy of my property deed. The clerk, a woman named Patricia, pulled it up immediately. Jade Marie Bennett, transferred from Howard Bennett, effective March 18, 2023, she confirmed. You're listed as sole owner. Do you need a notarized copy? Yes, please. 3 copies. She printed them out, notarized each one, charged me $12. I left with official, government-certified proof that the garage was mine. Not Derek's. Mine. On my way out, I stopped by the sheriff's office. Deputy Morrison was at the front desk. I need to report a property access violation, I said. Someone changed the locks on property I legally own without my permission. She pulled out a form. Property address. I gave her the details, showed her my deed, explained the situation. She took notes, gave me a case number. This is technically civil, not criminal, she said. But having a police report creates an official record. If your brother tries anything else, this documentation matters. Case number 2024-3847. Filed 9:34 a.m. Monday, May 6, 2024. Everything documented. Everything official. Everything building toward the moment Derek would realize he'd made a terrible mistake. That evening, Derek came by the house. I was in my car down the street, watching. He didn't see me. I'd learned that surveillance, done carefully, reveals everything. I watched him approach the garage, unlock the new lock with his key, go inside. 17 minutes later, he emerged carrying one of Dad's vintage toolboxes. Not just any toolbox, the Craftsman Professional set from 1976, worth at least $800. I took photos. Time-stamped. Clear images of Derek removing property from my garage. When he locked up and left, I waited. Then I approached the garage and took more photos of the changed lock, the closed door, the timestamp. Building my case, piece by piece. That night, I created a detailed timeline on my laptop. March 18, 2023. Property legally transferred to me March 20, 2023. Derek's note about not trusting me May 3, 2024. Derek changes locks without permission May 4, 2024. Derek claims authority over property in recorded call May 6, 2024. Derek removes property, toolbox, without authorization May 6, 2024. Police report filed. Case #2024-3847. Every action documented. Every piece of evidence dated, time-stamped, photographed, backed up. Derek thought he was winning. He had no idea he was walking into a trap of his own making. I decided it was time to be visible about my evidence. Tuesday morning, I showed up at the house while Derek was there, and calmly walked past him carrying a large manila envelope. "What's that?" he asked suspiciously. "Just some paperwork," I said casually. "Property documents, police reports, that kind of thing." His face went slightly pale. "Police reports?" "Yeah. Turns out when you change locks on someone else's property without permission, it creates an official record. Who knew?" I smiled sweetly. "Don't worry about it, though. I'm sure it's fine." I could see his mind racing, trying to figure out what I knew, what I had. Good. Let him worry. I went into Dad's office, he was at work, and left the envelope on his desk with a note. "Dad, we need to talk. Important. Jade." Inside the envelope, copies of the property deed, photos of Derek entering my garage, the police report, printouts of his recorded voicemail claiming authority over my property, and Mr. Brennan's statement as a witness. Everything laid out clearly. Impossible to ignore. When Dad got home that evening, I was waiting. Dad called me into his office at 7:30. He was sitting at his desk, the manila envelope open in front of him, documents spread out. His face was serious. "Jade, sit down." I Saturday. Didn't speak. Let him process. "When did you put all this together?" he asked. "Over the past few days. Once I realized Derek had been planning this for almost a year." I pointed to Derek's note from March. "This is from 2 days after you transferred the garage to me. He's been waiting to do this." Dad read the note again, his jaw tight. "I didn't know about this." "I know. But you do now." He looked at the photos of Derek taking the toolbox. He removed property from the garage. "Your 1976 Craftsman set. Worth about $800. Without permission. From property I legally own." I kept my voice steady, factual. "I've got multiple witnesses, police documentation, and recordings of Derek claiming authority over my property. This isn't a sibling disagreement. Dad. This is theft." Dad was quiet for a long time. Then he picked up the phone and called Derek. "Get over here. Now." His voice had an edge I rarely heard. "We need to talk about the garage." Derek arrived 20 minutes later, cocky smile on his face. Until he saw the documents on Dad's desk. Then his smile faltered. "Dad, I can explain." "Sit," Dad said. "Not requested. Ordered." Derek Saturday. Dad spread the documents out where Derek could see them. Explain this. Derek's eyes darted across the papers. The note. The photos. The police report. I watched his face go from confident to confused to genuinely worried. I was protecting the garage, Derek said. Jade doesn't know how to maintain it properly. She's never even ridden a motorcycle. I was doing what you should have done originally. What I should have done? Dad's voice was dangerously quiet. I transferred legal ownership to Jade because she earned it. 3 years of maintenance, organization, repairs. 3 years of responsibility. What have you done, Derek? I know motorcycles better than she does. That's not what I asked. Dad tapped the photo of Derek carrying the toolbox. Explain this. Derek went pale. I was just borrowing. From property you don't own. Without permission. After changing locks illegally. Dad's voice was hard. And this? He held up Derek's note. You've been planning this since March last year. Dad, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You decided you deserved something that wasn't yours, and you took it. Regardless of the law, regardless of your sister's rights. Dad stood up. Give Jade the keys. Now. Derek's jaw dropped. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious. Keys. Now. Or I call Deputy Morrison myself and you can explain this to her. Derek looked at me, eyes full of rage. But he reached into his pocket and pulled out a key ring. He threw it on the desk. This isn't over, he muttered. Yes, I said quietly, it is. But it wasn't over. I knew Derek too well. He was humiliated, cornered, and desperate. Which meant he'd escalate. I spent the next 3 days watching. I installed small, discreet security cameras around the garage, legal, since it was my property. 4 cameras with cloud backup, motion activated, recording everything. Wednesday night at 11:40 p.m., Derek showed up. I watched from my laptop as he approached the garage, looking around nervously. He tried the lock with a key, probably a copy he'd made before Dad forced him to give up the main set. It didn't work. I changed the locks again Tuesday afternoon. New keys, better security, only I had copies. Derek kicked the door in frustration. Then he did something that made my blood run cold. He pulled out a key to his truck, approached the side of the garage, and scratched a long, deliberate line in the paint. Vandalism. On camera. Time-stamped. Undeniable. I saved the footage immediately, backed it up to 3 locations. Then I called the non-emergency police line. I need to report property damage in progress. I have video evidence. Deputy Morrison arrived within 20 minutes. I showed her the footage on my laptop. Derek approaching, trying the lock, vandalizing the building. That's pretty clear, she said. With your permission, I'll go talk to him. Please, I said. She left. I watched from my living room window as she knocked on Derek's apartment door a few blocks away. Saw him answer, saw them talk. Saw his face go white. The next morning, Derek called Dad. I was there when Dad put it on speaker, too angry to care about privacy anymore. They're trying to press charges. Derek shouted. For a scratch on the garage. This is insane. You were caught on camera vandalizing your sister's property, Dad said, voice ice cold. What did you expect? I was frustrated. She changed the locks again. On her own property, which she has every legal right to do. Dad's patience was clearly gone. Derek, you need to stop. This has gone too far. It's gone too far. She's the one documenting everything, creating some kind of case against me like I'm a criminal. You changed locks on property you don't own, Dad said slowly. You removed items without permission. You vandalized a building. What would you call that? Silence on the other end. Here's what's going to happen, Dad continued. You're going to apologize to your sister. You're going to pay for the damage to the garage. And you're going to stop this immediately. Or you'll deal with the legal consequences. Your choice. Derek hung up. But I knew he wouldn't apologize. His pride wouldn't allow it. Which meant I needed to prepare for his next move. That afternoon, I received an unexpected message. From Derek's best friend, Connor. "Jade, we need to talk. Can you meet me at Riverside Coffee?" I hesitated. Connor had always been loyal to Derek. But something in his message felt genuine. I agreed to meet. Connor was already there when I arrived, sitting in a back corner booth, looking uncomfortable. He didn't waste time. "Derek's planning something," he said quietly. He asked me to lie for him if anyone asked questions. Said he needed people to back up his story about the garage being promised to him. My stomach tightened. "What did you tell him?" I told him no. Connor looked me straight in the eye. "I've known Derek since we were kids. He's my best friend. But what he's doing isn't right, and I'm not covering for him." He pulled out his phone and showed me text messages. Derek asking Connor to say Dad had verbally promised him the garage, asking him to testify that I was irresponsible with property, asking him to help create a false narrative. "Can I screenshot these?" I asked. "I already did. For you." He sent the files to my phone. "Derek doesn't know I'm here. But someone needed to know what he's planning." "Thank you," I said. "This means more than you know." Connor nodded. "My dad lost everything in a property dispute once. Someone stole land from him through legal tricks and lies. It destroyed him. I won't help Derek do that to you." With Connor's texts, I now had proof of Derek's intent to commit fraud, to create false witnesses, to fabricate claims about verbal promises. This went beyond sibling rivalry. This was conspiracy. I compiled everything into a comprehensive folder. Property deed, police reports, vandalism footage, recordings, witness statements from Mr. Brennan, Connor's texts, photos of every action Derek had taken. 37 pieces of evidence, each one documented, dated, backed up. Then I did something strategic. I scheduled a family meeting. Dad, Derek, me. Saturday at 10 a.m. at Dad's house. I sent the invitation via email, copying both of them. "We need to resolve the garage situation permanently. Please bring any documentation you believe supports your position. I will be presenting evidence of all actions taken since March 2023. Derek responded immediately, "Finally ready to admit you're not fit to own it." I didn't respond. Let him think he was winning. Let him show up confident and unprepared. Because I was about to present a case so airtight, so comprehensive, so devastating that there would be no room for argument, no space for lies, no possibility of Derek walking away without consequences. Saturday morning, I arrived at Dad's house with my laptop, a folder of printed documents, and the quiet confidence of someone who'd spent weeks preparing for this exact moment. Derek was already there, slouched on the couch, smirking. "Let's get this over with," he said. "I've got plans." "This won't take long," I said. And I meant it. I set up my laptop on Dad's coffee table, opened my presentation. 37 slides, each one a separate piece of evidence. "Let's start with the basics," I said, my voice steady. March 18th, 2023. Dad legally transfers garage ownership to me. Slide 1. Property deed, notarized, filed with county. Derek rolled his eyes. "We all know that." March 20th, 2023. Slide 2. Derek's handwritten note. 2 days later, "You write that you don't trust me and plan to take control." I looked at him. "Almost a year of planning, Derek." His smirk faded slightly. May 3rd, 2024. "You change locks on property you don't own." Slide 3. Receipt from Morrison's Hardware, $143.67, Derek's signature. May 4th, 2024. "You claim authority over my property in a recorded call." I played the audio. Derek's voice filled the room. "Those bikes are valuable. You can't just sell them without thinking it through." Dad's face was stone. May 6th, 2024. "You remove my property without permission." Slide 5. Time-stamped photos of Derek carrying the Craftsman toolbox. May 6th, 2024. You reported to police. Slide 6. Case number 2024 to 3847. May 8, 2024. You vandalize my building. I played the security footage. Derek approaching the garage. Derek scratching the paint. Clear as day. Derek's face had gone pale. Jade, I'm not done. Slide 8. Connor's text messages. You attempted to recruit false witnesses to commit fraud. Dad stood up. Derek, is this true? Derek's mouth opened, closed. I didn't mean. You didn't mean what? I pressed. You didn't mean to steal my property. You didn't mean to vandalize my building. You didn't mean to commit fraud. Derek looked at Dad desperately. Come on, Dad. She's making this sound worse than it is. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family, Dad said quietly. His voice had something in it I'd never heard before. Finality. Family doesn't lie, doesn't vandalize, doesn't try to destroy each other. I pulled out one more document. This morning, I spoke with my attorney. Given the totality of evidence, theft, vandalism, attempted fraud, I have grounds for a civil lawsuit. I could sue you for property damage, emotional distress, legal fees. Derek's eyes went wide. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I looked at him steadily. But I'm going to give you one chance. 1. Apologize. Pay for the damage to the garage, $200 for the paint repair. And stay away from my property permanently. Or I file papers Monday morning. The room was silent. Dad was looking at Derek with an expression I'd never seen, disappointment so profound it seemed to age him. Derek, Dad said softly, apologize to your sister. Derek's jaw worked. His pride was fighting his survival instinct. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, I'm sorry. For what? I asked. For changing the locks. For taking your stuff. For vandalizing the garage. Each word seemed to physically hurt him. And I pressed. And for trying to take what was legally yours. Payment plan, I said. You'll pay me $100 a month for 12 months. Starting June 1st. I'll send you a formal agreement. Derek nodded. Defeated. Dad walked him to the door. As Derek left, he turned back once, and the look in his eyes wasn't rage anymore. It was something worse. Genuine fear. He'd finally realized what he'd been up against. After he left, Dad came back and sat down heavily on the couch. I should have stopped him sooner, he said quietly. I thought staying neutral was the right thing. I was wrong. You didn't know what he was planning, I said. But now you do. Dad looked at my laptop, still open to the slides of evidence. How long did it take you to put all this together? 3 weeks. Every night after work. I closed the laptop. I learned something, Dad. When someone tries to take what's yours, you don't just fight. You document. You prepare. You build a case so strong they can't argue their way out. Dad smiled sadly. Your mom would have been proud. She always said you were the smart one. Mom would have told me to forgive him, I said. And maybe someday I will. But not today. Today, he learns that actions have consequences. Dad nodded. You taught him something I should have taught him years ago. The next few weeks were quiet. Derek made his first payment on June 1st, exactly $100, deposited into my account with a note, garage payment 1/12. Connor texted me occasionally, letting me know Derek was keeping his distance, that he'd learned his lesson. He talks about you differently now, Connor said. Less like his annoying little sister, more like someone who scares him a little. Good. Respect born from fear was still respect. I spent a Saturday painting the garage myself, covering the scratch Derek had made, choosing a slightly different shade of blue. Dad came out and helped, the two of us working in comfortable silence. You know, Dad said as we painted, the garage was always about more than just storage. I know, I said. It was about trust. About responsibility. About proving I could handle something valuable. You proved more than that, Dad said. You proved you could protect what was yours. That takes a different kind of strength. I thought about that. 3 months ago, I'd felt powerless when I saw that changed lock. Now I understood something fundamental. Power isn't about force. It's about preparation, documentation, strategy, patience. Derek had tried to win through impulsiveness and arrogance. I'd won through careful planning and cold logic. By mid-July, all 12 payments had been made. Derek had paid off his debt early, probably wanting to be done with the reminder of his failure. One evening in late July, Derek showed up at the garage. I was working on my motorcycle project, finally making progress now that I had access again. "Jade," he said from the doorway. His voice was different, uncertain. "Can I come in?" I looked up, wiped grease from my hands. "It's my property. I suppose I can allow visitors." He winced at that. "Good." He walked in slowly, looking around at the organized tools, the clean workspace, the 3 motorcycles lined up perfectly. "You really did take care of this place," he said quietly. "I told you I would," I said. "You just didn't believe me." Derek was quiet for a moment. Then, I was jealous. Dad always praised you for being responsible, organized, smart. I thought if I had the garage, he'd see me that way too. "Derek," I said, setting down my wrench, "you can't steal respect. You have to earn it. And you definitely can't steal respect by literally stealing property." He laughed, a bitter sound. "Yeah, I figured that out the hard way." He looked at me. "We're never going to be close again, are we?" "Probably not," I said honestly. "You tried to take something that meant everything to me. You planned it for a year. You vandalized my property. Those aren't small things." "I know," he said. I wanted you to know I'm not going to try anything else. You won. Completely. I learned my lesson." "Good," I said. "Because next time, I won't give you a chance to pay your way out. Next time, it's court." Derek nodded and left. I watched him go, then returned to my motorcycle. The 1991 Harley was coming along nicely. Another few weeks and it would run perfectly. 3 months after the family meeting, I invited Mr. Brennan over to see the completed motorcycle restoration. He walked around it admiringly, running his hand over the chrome. "Beautiful work, Jade. Your dad would be proud." "He is proud," I said. "He told me so." "Not your dad Howard," Mr. Brennan said. "Your granddad. The one who started this whole garage in the first place, back in 1962. He'd be proud you fought for it." I'd almost forgotten. The garage had been Granddad's originally. He'd built it himself, filled it with tools and projects. When he died, it went to Dad. And when Dad saw I had the same passion for mechanics that Granddad had, he'd given it to me. "Granddad used to say something," Mr. Brennan continued. "He said the measure of a person isn't what they can take. It's what they can protect." I thought about that. About the weeks of documentation, the careful strategy, the patient accumulation of evidence. About refusing to be bullied or stolen from. About standing firm when everyone expected me to back down. "I protected what was mine," I said. "You did more than that," Mr. Brennan said. "You taught everyone around you that you're not someone to underestimate." He was right. Dad treated me differently now, with respect, as an equal. Derek avoided me entirely, which was fine. And I'd learned something valuable about myself. I was capable of fighting battles I never thought I'd have to fight. The garage door was open, sunlight streaming in. My sanctuary. My space. Protected. Earned. Mine. 6 months after the lock incident, I stood in the garage one Saturday morning, drinking coffee, looking around at everything I'd built here. The 3 restored motorcycles. The organized tool collection. The workspace where I'd spent hundreds of hours learning, creating, fixing. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Derek asked if he could store some things in the garage. "I told him to ask you. Your property, your decision." I smiled. That was new. Dad respecting my authority. Asking permission instead of assuming. I typed back, "No. The garage is mine. He made his choice." Dad responded immediately, "Understood. That's fair." I set my phone down and returned to my current project, rebuilding a carburetor for the 1987 Harley. Intricate work. Precise work. The kind of thing that required patience, attention to detail, and the refusal to give up when things got complicated. Exactly the skills I'd used to protect this place. As I worked, I thought about everything that had happened. The shock of finding the changed lock. The note revealing Derek's year-long plan. The careful accumulation of evidence. The family meeting where I'd laid out my case with surgical precision. Derek's defeated apology. The slow rebuilding of trust with Dad. I'd learned that justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, methodical, built piece by piece through documentation and patience. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply proving, beyond any doubt, that you were right all along. The garage was mine. Legally, morally, practically mine. And everyone knew it now. I finished reassembling the carburetor, installed it carefully, wiped my hands on my work rag. Perfect fit. Everything working exactly as it should. Just like my life.